Hey everyone, Johnny here. Welcome back to episode 2 of our bathroom vanity scene. In this episode, we're going to be modeling one of the containers that's on the bathroom counter. We're going to model up this Redken Brews hair paste bottle. It's a simple model to do, and so it's a good place to start. Now we've already added a placeholder in our scene for this object that's the correct dimensions. But what we want to do is we want to move this into a place by itself so that we can work on it. What I'm going to do is duplicate my placeholder, and I'm going to press Alt-G to clear its location. This will put the object at the center coordinates of Blender. You see it here at the center of our coordinate system. When we use the Alt key in combination with G, R, and S, it clears any position, rotation, and scale we might have added. With our object at the center of the world, we want to focus on just that object for a minute. So what I can do is press the / key. This will put the object into what's known as local view. Now, it is the only item that I can see in my viewport. You'll see that my view name has turned to user perspective local. If at any time I want to return to non-local view, I just press the / key again. Now I still do want to have my reference images with me when I go into local view, so I'm going to shift select both of the images so that both images and my object are selected, and press /. Now I'm in local view. We see from the reference image that this bottle is an oval. So I'm going to go into top view, go to my object, hit Shift A, and add a circle. The reason I don't see anything is that my circle is bigger than my screen. So if I scroll out, there it is. I'm going to go ahead and scale it. And I'm going to scale the sides to fit inside this rectangle. Now before I scale it anymore, I want to mention that so far we've been in what's called object mode, as we can see in the top left-hand corner here. This means that we've been treating every item as the same thing, and so far we've only been adding meshes. But if we were to add a light, or a camera, or some other object, we would be treating them all the same. We can move them, scale them, rotate them, those sorts of things, but other than that, they all act the same. So if we want to treat this object, especially like a mesh, we need to go into edit mode. We do that by either selecting edit mode from this menu, or with the object selected, hit tab and choose edit mode. You'll now see that we're working with this as a mesh. We see the lines and the individual points of our mesh. With all of these points selected, I'm going to scale and then constrain to my y-axis using the middle mouse button. This is the approximate profile shape of our object. Now I'm going to go into front view. You'll notice that when we cleared the location of our placeholder, the center of it went to the center of the world, but we'd really like it to be sitting on the ground level. You'll notice that I can't select my placeholder object. This is because we're still in edit mode for the new circle. I need to leave edit mode by pressing tab and choosing object mode. Now I can change objects. I'm going to grab this one, move it up, and if I hold down the control key while I'm doing that, it will snap. Reselecting my circle and going into edit mode, I'm going to go into front view. I want to extend this oval up to the same height as this cube. To do that, I'll use extrude. To extrude, I'll press immediately a new set of vertices has been created, and I go into grab mode. Again, I can click my middle mouse button to constrain to the z-axis to make it the right height. This is the basic height of the object we want to create. So for now, I'm going to select my placeholder and I'm going to move it out of the way. With the Z key, I'm going to go into solid mode. As you can see, our circle is hollow. So we're going to need to fill in the top and the bottom. To do that, I'll go back into edit mode for our circle, select these top vertices, and press the F key to fill. I'll also rotate up so that I see the bottom vertices, select those, and fill. Shrink this down and move it a little closer. You'll notice that around the circumference of this object is faceted, whereas this container is not. To fix that, I'm going to select it, right-click, and say Shade Smooth. You'll also notice that the top is rounded, and the bottom is slightly rounded as well. To fix that, I'm going to add a bevel. Going into Edit mode, I'm going to select this top ring of vertices. Next, I'll press Ctrl B to bevel. As I pull my mouse away, you'll see that the top begins to add a new loop. If I roll my mouse wheel up, it adds additional cuts. I think 2 cuts and about this size looks good. For the bottom vertices, I'll do something similar. With the vertices selected, I'll hit Ctrl B, and you'll notice that the same amount of cuts is what you start with, but I'm going to roll my mouse wheel down and just add 1. So this is looking pretty good already. Next, we want to add a slight indentation where the cap meets the body of the container. In Edit mode, I'm going to add what's called a loop cut. To add a loop cut, press Ctrl R. You'll see a yellow line previewing where a cut will be made when you click. This is the area that I want to cut. As soon as I confirm that cut, I go into slide mode, which lets me position that cut along this space. I'm going to put it right about here. Next, I'm going to add another cut just below it. And lastly, I'm going to add another cut in between these two. With that last cut selected, I'm going to press S to scale. This will add a slight indentation between the two parts. Next, I want to turn on an option for our object. If we go over to this side menu and choose the Object Data Properties, which for a mesh is this little triangle, expand the Normals section, go ahead and click Auto Smooth. What Auto Smooth does is it'll put a hard break on places that have any angle greater than what's here. So this edge we've put in is now a hard cut, like the actual item. But what this has also revealed is that our bevel up top was a little too harsh right there. So going back into Edit mode, I want to select just this ring. But since it's not by itself, it's a little harder to do. There's 2 ways that we could select this ring. Right now, if I used my box select, you'd see that only the front is selected. So I could go into wireframe mode and select all the way through. Another option is to use a loop select. To do that, if I alt-click on an edge, the entire loop of that edge is selected. Since this is the edge that was a little too sharp, I've selected it. I'll press Ctrl B to bevel and add just a little more smoothness. As well, I'll do the same with this one. That's looking pretty good. In the next episode of this series, we're going to add a material to this object and try to make it look as much like the original as possible. So make sure you subscribe to get updates for when that episode comes out. As always, thanks for watching the video. I hope you're enjoying this series, and I hope it inspires you to do something awesome. See you next time.